Hi everyone, it's Spicy Sushi here. So about 3 streams ago, I decided to take on a challenge to earn a mirror from only Harvest. By only Harvest, this challenge required me to not engage in any content outside of Harvest. This meant no ultimatums, no Cyruses, no ritual, nothing but the Harvest instance. I would run past monsters and basically only kill them to pick up a flash charge for my Quicksilver if I was a little bit too slow finding the Harvest on the map. So the rules were created by me. So yes, I could sell crafts on TFT as well as crafts that I made through Harvest, but I could not do things like finish crafts through Syndicate or through Veiled Chaos Orbs. I decided that it would be fine for me to create bases with League mechanics, such as through Beast splitting a 6-length Astral Plate, and then like Crusader slamming both for physical rolling or other things for influence randomizing. But I could not finish them besides through Harvest bench crafts or regular bench crafts. But I did not do anything like meta crafting because I'm simply too dumb for that, to be honest. Now, another layer to this challenge was actually the build. I did not advertise this as a main part of it, but I decided to do a Toxic Rain Raider on a budget of around 8 to 9 exalts. The build was extremely fast, and I had decent layers of defense through Divine Flesh and Dodge Cap, but unfortunately, Harvest monsters still dunked me quite often, simply because the build can't dodge AoE spells. So with my minuscule life pool, I'd simply get smacked, especially if it was physical damage. The build, it's pretty funny though, because the build feels like invincible in ultimatums, because I did test it quite a lot before starting the challenge. But Harvest monsters are apparently just built different. And so that was a frustration that I had throughout the challenge. I think, maybe a significant amount of time was cut off or was added just to the deaths and having to run back to Harvest every now and then. Maybe even 1 out of every 2 maps I would die. Cadence, need a new build. Give me a new build. Now, it was my first time playing Toxic Rain, and after completing the challenge, I really understand now why it's considered by many to be the ultimate starter. I will post the path of building in the description, though I don't particularly recommend my variant for Harvest if you don't like to die, because like I said, Harvest monsters very often would absolutely destroy this build. So I feel like they're I mean, I think it was very efficient still, simply because the exceptional amount of speed that we had. We were finding Harvest within 5 to 10 seconds of going into our atolls. We did these on atoll, but the only problem was, since we were prioritizing speed, we did have, and obviously the low budget, we did have low damage, and so Harvest monsters took a while to kill. We would die. And so that did add a significant challenge to this. So I think doing a budget build with this was, it did add, maybe even doubled the time, honestly, that it could have taken a more efficient setup. But I'm glad I did it. Looks like someone's followed. But that is, yeah. So basically, the challenge was a mirror from Harvest and as fast as I could do it with my playstyle, and to do it on a budget. No headhunter, nothing like that. 8 to 9 exalt build. Now, all of the harvests were done in Haywork. We did not go to Lex Proxima once, even though I do have sources that have told me that Lex Proxima is higher profit per hour with certain mechanics. But we decided to just do Haywork because atolls are just much more enjoyable for me. I guess we could have done Park. I think Park, we would have found the Harvest probably faster, maybe. But atolls were what we did. We did them scoured. No juice on these. I think on day 1, maybe 40 of the maps were corrupted rare, which made it really hard for this build. I just simply got a really good discount from a trader on TFT because he had corrupted them all already. So I decided to go with those for day one. But, you know, we just ran straight to the harvest. I didn't get an exalt drop or anything in that day. I didn't get any really map sustain at all. So, yeah. Now, the setup. So these were done in Haywork. The first day of the challenge, I ran 1 mature and 3 tier 1 bountiful, which basically makes it so harvest crafts have an additional chance to like be doubled, basically, you know, get an additional craft. But I found out that you can actually stack 4 mature watchstones now. There's not really any indication of that. It just, the watchstone has no numbers in the description. It just says you get an extra chance at a higher tier seed. So I don't know, it's not very intuitive, but apparently it does. And after switching to that setup on day 2, the results were astronomical. It made such a massive difference in our farm, and it is definitely something that I would recommend if you want to get into this kind of profit. So originally bountiful, switched to mature. So also we paid for all of the maps because there was no map sustain through this method. So yes, I was buying atolls for 9 to 10 chaos each, some for 7 to 8, but mainly 8 to 9. Now, this took hundreds of maps in these 3 days. I mean, they were quick. You may hear like 300 something maps and think that sounds a little bit absurd, but keep in mind we were running into the harvest and just being done. The maps were sometimes only 1 minute, 50 seconds to 1 minute. So it goes by very quick on some of these maps. We started with around 35 exalts investment. I did not track investment per, like, you know, restocking of bases and such. I just know we started with 35x. We reinvested what we got. So yeah, that's all I know. I simply can't go over all of the bases I used in this entire challenge in this video because we went through so many different kinds. I tested lots of different things, but I will include a spreadsheet in the description of what I did for this challenge. Just, it's not going to be a guide over what's the best because I don't know the best. We're going to go over in a minute why I did what I did for my crafts. And that's just what the description is going to have. It's going to have a spreadsheet that covers what I did. So I guess I'll go into that now. Why I did what I did. For my particular playstyle, I am too simple-minded. I'm also just too lazy to bother learning the big brain crafting that you can do from Harvest. So I did the simplest things I possibly could think of. The challenge originally started with medium cluster jewels, but I realized quite early on that I was creating cluster jewels that were worth selling way too often, such as chaos reforges on medium chaos multi-clusters. I was making profitable ones way too often, but these were very low profit margins. These were like 30 to 40 chaos on average, but it was extremely consistent, but it was incredibly annoying to restock on these. So I found out for my play style, we were making just so much stupid amounts of money through not crafting that I decided to go with the simplest crafts possible towards the middle of the challenge. So we switched off of mediums and we went to larges. Now, large cluster jewels with reforges almost virtually never hit. But since they virtually never hit, you never ever almost have to restock. And because of that, we only hit 1 large cluster this entire challenge, and it was 21 exalts. It was a cold cluster. We did hit 1 minion cluster actually for 2.5 exalts, so only 1 exalt profit on that one because the base is 1.5. But yeah, it didn't matter because we just made so much money through other things. Now the first half of the challenge, I did sell a bunch of medium clusters that we were making, so that does contribute. But for the entire second half of this project, we did not. I completely actually just dropped my fire clusters. I stopped even using chaos rerolls. I stopped using speed, to be honest. I stopped using a lot because I found out that just getting in and getting out is basically the best way for me, my playstyle, to do this. Now, what do I mean by getting in and getting out? How could I make money if I don't even bother doing the actual reforges, which is the majority of the things you get? Well, I'm going to go over basically a couple of tips actually. So if you see a blue seed and red seed plot and it says reforges a rare in a certain way, I almost always went for this unless the second plot had scarabs. And really that's it. If the second plot had a lot of Breachstone, Delirium Orb, Timeless, Emblem, Fossil rerolls or exchanges, I guess, like Catalyst and such, I would go for that if it had 2 or more. But if the other plot opposite to it had reforge a rare item in a certain way, 2+, or more likely 3+ crafts for that, I would go with that because you can get keep prefix reforge. So reforge keep prefix or reforge keep suffix, and those, well, a lot of the time you'll get lucky divines, but you will very often get keep reforge keep prefix or reforge keep suffix. Those go for 1 exalt minimum on TFT each, and we got over 30 to 40 of those, maybe more throughout this challenge. And so just that craft that we hit like 1 in every 3, 4, or 5 maps, to be honest, after I found that out and started using that strategy, it made up an astronomical part of the profit. So the next one I liked was scarabs, because I would keep a stock of gilded harbinger scarabs that would be upgraded to winged quite often. It feels like an 80+% chance, because there were multiple times that I would click that, I'd get 3 of them at once, click all 3 times, triple wing scarab. That is literally like 70 chaos profit straight up, just right there for each of those. Now, another big part of it was Breachstone, Delirium Orb, Timeless, Fossil, like rerolls, because we would hit tons and tons and tons of profitable fossils. I would restock by buying like 250 to 300 metallic fossils and go through all of those. I would buy Delirium Orbs, the cheapest you could find, and you would very often hit very expensive ones. So you might be thinking at this point, wow, that sounds pretty high investment, but trust me, it is definitely worth it if you want to do this kind of farm. So yeah, I was grinding just out of my mind. I would go to sleep almost right after stream, or we'll go hang out with my wife for a while, then go straight to sleep. I was too tired to keep up the data. The VODs are completely open for you to view. For a few of the hours in the VODs, I was doing things with viewers, doing gambles. And for the first few hours of the first day, I was just buying bases and setting up the farm. So the VODs aren't totally just only the challenge, but it was about 30 hours of gameplay, of actual playing Harvest, the challenge. So of the 310 exalt profit, I would say 30% was tier 4 seeds and reforge keep prefix / keep suffix. We ran into at least 12+ tier 4 seeds in this challenge because of those mature watchstones, and they were very often doubled. At one point, I think it was even tripled at one point from the Atlas passive in Haywork. Those 3 harvest passives, I think, actually did make quite a difference. So even though we only got 12, well, not only, but even though we got 12 4 seeds, we got probably 20+ actual tier 4 crafts. We did not hit any of the big tier 4 crafts like Augment Influence or Fracture 1-3, but we did hit Synthesize Item, we hit Reforge Influence quite often, Fracture 1-3, which goes for 7 exalts each. It got doubled like 3 times. So yeah, massive profit. So 30% of our 310 exalt profit. This is subtracting 30 exalts. We actually got about 340 exalts total from this. So it was about 310 total profit, which got us the mirror. So, and the next 30% was scarabs and exchanges. So like the fossils, deli orb, stuff like that. So 60% total now was tier 4 seeds, reforge keep, scarabs and exchanges. 20% was influence randomize. I go over that in the spreadsheet, but basically it's getting an item such as a 6-link chest, splitting it with Beastcraft, it's like 14 chaos, slamming both with the Crusader orb, and then randomizing the influence. This can be done with weapons, and this cannot be done with jewelry, but it can be done with chests and weapons. Those are like 1 exalt to if you do your research really well, could be up to 3 to 4 exalts profit for each one that you actually hit successful. For example, a big brain thing we did earlier on that crashed was bone helmets enchanted. We could get them for 45 chaos originally, 45 chaos to 1 exalt, enchanted with Spectre enchant or Kyrian Golem. Slam it, or split it, I mean, or not split. Slam it with a Crusader Orb, so it's 1 point, like 3 exalt, 4 exalt profit, or 2 exalts profit at that point, but you reforge it to Elder, and it was going for 5 exalts originally, so just for the base. So yeah, if you do your research, that one can be much more profitable than what we got, but I did not have time to do research really. I was just grinding. Grinding. Again, the type of playstyle I had was not crafting, efficient crafting wise. This was mainly just brute forcing my way through the Scarab exchanges and hitting lucky crafts to sell on TFT. We did hit 1 augment crit, for example. Just 1. We only got 1 augment, and it was the crit that sold for 10x. Now, 15% was reforges. Only 15% of the total profit was reforges. Technically it could be more, but this, because we made a very nice triple crit multi-jewel, or no, double crit multi-life, max mana, and max life, which is worth like 18 to 20x, but I did not include it in this challenge, so I didn't include it in this. It hasn't sold yet, so that was a very lucky hit there. And then a 5% was from everything else. Now everything else is like turn alts into chaos, divination rerolls. We did no divination gambles, but yeah, just really tiny stuff. So yeah, that's about it. I hope the spreadsheet below is helpful. You guys can watch the VODs if you want to learn more, go through the experience. It was a wild journey, but I'd do it again, totally. Harvest is a ton of fun, especially with these mature watchstones, because there's just always a chance. You go into a harvest, there's a chance you're going to see a tier 4 seed. There's a decent chance. And there's also going to be a chance you get some reforged keep suffix prefix. Or even an augment. The augments are super, super rare. Those mature watchstones don't increase those chances at all. They actually reduce the chances, so I wouldn't hope for those, because we only got 1 across like 300 or so harvests. So yeah, it was, oh, I forgot to mention, if I didn't mention earlier, yes, we put harvest on the map device as well. Well, that's it. So yeah, we did not do Xana missions or anything, just harvest on the map device every time. But yeah, so I'm going to leave it with a clip of me creating the mirror and just like my excitement from the end of this challenge. It was 3 streams, about 28 to 30 hours of actual gameplay. Like I said, we did some gambles with viewers and random stuff, so it wasn't all those VOD times are not accurate, but it was about 28 to 30 total hours of gameplay. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone that hung out along the way. Some of you were there from day 1 to day 3, and thanks for hanging out. It was an amazing experience, and it was some of the most fun I've had in PoE. So I'll see you guys next time. I'll catch you later. It's time. And here it is. A mirror from 3 days, around 30 hours of gameplay of only normal rarity, scoured atolls, no league mechanics, nothing. Literally just the harvest mechanic. There it is. On an 8 exalt build. 8 to 9 exalt build. There it is. One sec. Alright, it's not even funny anymore. I was just gonna drop the mirror for the explosion sound. Put this in the YouTube video. Itaxim said he'd help me edit it, so yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. Alright. There it is. Like I was gonna say. Can I go up here? I can't go up here. Only harvest. Scoured atolls, no league mechanics, apps, no Cyrus, nothing. No rituals, none of that. And there it is. Mirror of Calandra. 3 days, 30 hours. I can't pick it up. I can't pick it up. Oh no. Imagine if it disconnected me and I lost my portals.